Assalamu alaikum. May God's peace and blessings be on all of you here. Thank you guys so much for attending tonight. It's an honor to see so many blessed faces in the audience this afternoon. Everyone down from Chaplain Barnes, I got to give you a shout out in the back. I see you. There you go. All right. Got Judge Coffin here, Manny Yellow from Harbor House. I really appreciate having all of you guys here this afternoon. So what I actually wanted to talk about was the purification of the heart, as you guys can see on the slides above. And the reasoning behind that is because I feel the faith-based community, right, in general, this is what we bring to the table. I think spirituality, iman, faith, and tazkiyat an-nafs, right, the aspect of purification of the self is what we bring to the table. And as a Muslim, tazkiyat an-nafs is, the term in Arabic, is what is a very pivotal asl. It's a foundational aspect of our faith. And so I feel it's something that everyone in this gathering tonight would be able to definitely understand and work with. So work with me as we journey through Prezi. So a scholar once said, "How odd that some people mourn for the one whose body has died, but never mourn for the one whose heart has died. And yet the death of the heart is far more serious." And I think, as Josh even was mentioning in a lot of the things that he was talking about, we live in a society in a time where morality, right, where the concept of ethics, right, has seemed to have deteriorated, if you will, right? You find it few and far between. And the reality, this is something, that is so important to a successful, a healthy, right, and a spiritual community, right? If you don't have that aspect of the heart being alive, right, and being connected to its creator, then there's a problem. There are other things that will happen in the community and in that society if that main connection isn't there. So I want to talk to you guys about the types of hearts according to the Islamic tradition. So a lot of scholars, you might be familiar with, you might have heard of scholars, well actually, if you know anything about math, or if you know anything about the sciences, then you have definitely, if you actually studied it, you will have heard of Muslim scholars in those fields, especially from Spain, back in the day from 711 to 1492. You have a lot of individuals there, everywhere from Mali, Timbuktu to Baghdad, which had one of the largest libraries in history. If you didn't know, now you know. But I'm just letting you know. And so one of the topics that many of these scholars wrote upon was actually about the heart, right? They would speak about the heart. And they would actually separate the heart in different sections, if you will, to explain how it worked. And so the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, in one of the books mentioned, "Truly in the body there is a morsel of flesh, which if it is sound, all of the body is sound. And if it be diseased, all of the body is diseased. And truly it is the heart." Right? Just really emphasizing on the importance of taking care of this. Right? Not just the physical aspect of this, right? But the spiritual aspect of this as well, right? Yeah. I'm just kidding, Get in trouble after. So the first type of heart is the unhealthy heart, right? And so some of the things to explain what an unhealthy heart is that it doesn't know its Lord. It doesn't know its creator. There's so many times, I as a younger individual, if you will, I go to a lot of college campuses and I speak to a lot of students today within a university setting. And I can't tell you how often I will go into a college campus, sit down with students, and one of the things that they tell me is, well, to be completely honest, I don't believe in God, right? I don't really have any concept of anything, to be completely honest. And to me, that's something that, some people might agree with that, and that's fine, but to me, that's something that I feel it's sad. And it makes me sad to know that young individuals are growing up today with such a pivotal aspect of their life being left out, right? They don't have that. And so their heart doesn't know their Lord, right? And it doesn't worship their Lord, right? One of the things in the Islamic tradition is we feel that even the toad, the frogs, right? They're croaking. We all know the sound, right? Ribbit, right? We know that, right? The frog and its little ribbit, right? We believe that even the ribbit, right, coming from the frog is it glorifying the name of God, right? Because every single thing, every single creation glorifies its creator, right? Because there is no creation without the creator, right? And so the unhealthy heart, it lives by its desires, even if it contradicts what God wants. And there are problems with this. So for example, many of the things that Josh mentioned, one of them, greed, right? I played a video actually recently on 1890, I think it was late 1800s, I would say about 1870 on, all right, in a place that we all know called Palestine/Israel today, right? So it's a place of contention, right? Everyone's like, oh my gosh, they can't have peace there. There's never been peace there. Muslims, Jews, and Christians, it's impossible. So anyways, I actually ask you, when you go home, right, don't do it now, go on YouTube, right, and type in Palestine 1800s, okay? You're gonna get a silent film that pops up. It's about, I want to say 10 minutes long, right? Silent film, so this is before they even had sound. And as you watch this video, and I was gonna play type, but it's all good, right? As you play this video, you will actually see, okay, nuns walking in the streets. You will see Christians walking in the streets, right? You will see Orthodox Christians, Orthodox Jews, Muslims praying, literally all in like different corners of the same city. Same place, no issues. But what changed all of that wasn't faith. Greed. Greed changed that, right? Because if the faiths have been living perfectly fine at different points in time, then what changed? The hearts of men, the hearts of people, right? And also, when we speak about things like lust, right? And do they have any repercussions in a society, right? We have to go no further than Ad and Thamud within the Quran, or for those familiar with the biblical tradition, we have Sodom and Gomorrah, right? The aspect of lust, when it is not held within check, right? And he mentioned the aspect of relationships, right? If it's not held within the aspect of what God would see and deem it to be, good, right, and healthy, then we end up with issues in our society. Healthy heart. So a healthy heart is one that's free from the passions that displease God, right? And it follows that which God would want, right? And it's funny, I had a little side note that I wrote here. It said, you'll find that our hearts are always broken when we place them in the care of others than God. That's across the board. You always find that to be true. If you ever place your heart in other than God, indefinitely, it doesn't matter who it is, your heart will be broken at one point in time, right? But when you place your heart in the control of God, you never have that issue, because He's the one who created it in the first place, right? So how can you have, an issue with the one who created it? And the third pillar is a sick heart, and this is a heart that goes in between the two, right? It's a heart that sometimes inclines to good, and sometimes it inclines to that which is bad, right? It's like a slave that has two masters, right? And if you think about it for a second, even a maid, give it a little bit more of a modern twist to it, right? Maid in Manhattan. I don't know why that just popped in my head. But you imagine a maid, right, that has two different individuals that she has to answer to, or he has to answer to, right? Or Jarvis, right? Jarvis has to answer to two individuals, right? Imagine the difficulty of having two different individuals order you around. Tell you have to do this, but at the same time someone on the other side telling you have to do this. It's impossible. You can't do both things at once. And that's exactly what happens when at one side you have God having your heart, and on the other side you have it, belonging to the world and everything else and everyone else. Right? It's very difficult, and that's why we give our heart solely to God. So then I wanted to speak to you guys, right? So we understand the concept of different hearts, right, within the Islamic context and the Islamic tradition. So there are four things, right? And this is what I really want everyone to take home from what I kind of spoke about. Because when we hear about Islam so often, we hear about things that honestly and truly have nothing to do with Islam, right? So I'm showing you what we have to do with Islam here, okay? The scholars of Islam have spoken about different poisons of the heart, right? Which all of us here, hopefully, can agree on, right? These four things, when I'm done, you can tell me if you agree with them or not, right? These are the four poisons of the heart. The first one is the glance, the gaze, right? Growing up as a Christian, one of the things I used to recite often is, it was a song, right? And the song similar was like, in essence, be careful little eyes what you see, be careful little ears what you hear, because the Father up above is looking down in love, so be careful little eyes what you see, right? So I remember singing it, it always pops up when I think of this verse, right? Because it's literally exactly, has the same connotations and the same benefit from it. So God says here, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذلك أزكى لهم إن الله خبير بما يصنعون. So, in essence, this is actually a commandment, first of all. So we're going to focus here, right? This is actually a commandment from God, in which God is actually advising, right, and telling the people who are believers, right? If you have belief in God, if you claim to be an individual who has belief in God, right, then restrain, right, your gaze, right? Restrain your gaze, because that is actually a form of protection for you, right? And that's why I have a little quote here that says, between the eyes and the heart is a connection, and whoever allows the eyes to collect trash will find that the heart has become the landfill with no space left for its Lord, right? Whatever you end up coming here has a direct connection to here, and it'll continue to go there. Just because we're on time, I just want to make sure I keep going. Too much food. This is a good one before you guys eat, right? You guys are like, darn it, man, do you really have to go there? So, actually, this is actually one of the poisons of the heart. And the reason for it is because it inhibits from the worship of God. And I'll go straight to this, actually, this statement that's here. And the person said, do not eat too much, otherwise you will drink too much. And then you will end up sleeping too much, and then you will lose too much. Right? And you'll actually notice, like, it's funny, because when a person eats too much, what ends up happening? Right? They're done. They're gone. Right? That's it. You see, a lot of you guys out to tonight are like, babe, we gotta go home. I'm tired. Right? That usually is what happens. You don't have the ability nor the time to continue to worship. Right? You kind of just, you clock out, if you will. Companionship. Right? And one of the things my mother used to teach me a lot is be careful who you befriend, right? Watch who your friends are, right? And one of the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is your deen, your religion, your faith is going to be based on your khalil. You're the one who, and khalil is a specific word, like the closest, your intimate friend, the one who's the closest to you, right? You will find that your faith will often be, or just even the way you live, your personality, your character, will always be affected by the person that you have closest to you. The person that you hang out with, the person that you talk to the most, the person that you call your best friend, you will always find that person to affect you. Whether that be good or bad, that's your choice. That's why you choose your friends in the best of ways. He's texting. Got you. Constant speech. This is actually really cool because, especially in light of Holy Week being a few weeks ago, I had a lot of discussions with a lot of my friends, Christian friends, on the subject of Jesus and Mary. May God's peace and blessing be upon them both, who both have very high status within the Islamic tradition. In fact, there's a whole entire chapter based on Mary. It's actually called Mary. And so, actually, what's so cool about that chapter, though, is when we were talking about the story of Mary, you actually find that one of the things she did is she actually vowed to take a fast from speaking, right? And God actually elevated her in terms of her piety, right? And it's just interesting because he speaks so highly of her and her piety and her, how close she was to God. And when you juxtapose that with the fact that one of the things that she was doing was fasting from speech, it makes you think. Why is that so important? And this is why. Omar, who was actually one of the greatest companions, mentioned, a person who talks too much is a person who often makes mistakes. And someone who often makes mistakes often has wrong actions. How often do we see, sometimes when you just can't stop talking, you end up saying the wrong thing, right? And then you try to fix it, right? And then it's like you just keep digging that hole. They just keep this, especially when you get married. Right? My wife knows. My wife's looking at me, she's like, You do it all the time, right? But that's the reality. That's the reality. Sometimes when you continue talking, and sometimes that's why it's good. If you believe in God, this is one of the statements of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he mentions, if you believe in God in the last day, say that which is good, khayra, falyasmut, right? Or just, the nice way to say, right? Just be quiet, right? Just be quiet. Excellent. And so the remedies, right? I tell you a brief story of Luqman. Luqman was a very wise individual, and his story is told within the Quranic tradition, in the Islamic tradition. You will find many stories, first of all, within the Islamic tradition, because that's one of the easiest ways you'll realize that lessons are taught, right, through stories. And so Luqman was a slave, right? And his master came to him once and said to him, go bring me, okay, go and bring me the 2 best portions of an animal, right? Go and bring me those 2 best portions, right? And so Luqman goes, he slaughters, okay, goes some animal, and he comes back with 2 pieces, the heart and the tongue. And he brings it back and he gives it to his master and he says, here you go. He said, I don't want this, right? I want the juicy stuff, right? So he tells him again, go back and bring me, right, the 2 best portions of the animal. So he goes, he slaughters the animal, and he comes back again with heart and the tongue. And his master's like, yo, all right, come on, stop playing. Like, I said I want the best stuff. What is this, man? Give me the ribs, give me some thighs, something else, right? And so Luqman explains to him these things. He says to him, that's master, the 2 worst things, if used wrong, right? And if not taken care of, the heart and the tongue. And likewise, the 2 best things if taken care of, the heart and the tongue, right? So, as I went through those 4 different things, those 4 poisons, they also are the cures. Because God doesn't give us the things that harm us without giving us the same cures, right? And sometimes you don't have to look too hard. The things that are negatively affect us can also be a benefit if we just learn to control them. And the remembrance of God. The remembrance of God. أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. And so, this is actually a question from God, right? A question that God is asking, is it not time for the hearts, لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, to have the remembrance of God, right? That remembrance is all that we really, truly need to come back to, right? As a community, as a society, as individuals and people of faith. When we begin to come back to the remembrance of God, right, we're able to satisfy and fix those things that have been messing and negatively affecting our communities, right? I think I have one more slide on that. The end slide. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So hopefully you guys were able to benefit from that. I just want to share some of the things that I feel are very important for us. So as a community in general, as a faith-based community in general, as people who have recently accepted faith, and maybe some of the family members are here, as individuals from other faiths that are here as well, I think these are things that we can all benefit from in our own respective communities. And it's important for us to see that we have a lot of similarities, right? So much similarities and so many things that we can hold on to. And as God says in the Quran, that we hold on to the rope of God, jami'an, that we hold on to the rope of God together, right? So I ask God that we're able to hold on to His rope together. I mean, thank you guys, and we'll have a